Sådär, varmt välkomna till dagens webbinar som handlar om landskapsarkitektur i 3D och Revit med hjälp av ett plugin som heter Environment. Med oss har vi Nekama som kommer att presentera, och presentationen kommer att hållas på engelska. Vi har med oss även Johan som är säljchef, och med stor sannolikhet så kommer ni vara i kontakt med honom eller någon av hans kollegor i samband med licenser och tjänster och liknande frågor. Och mitt namn är Heide, och det är mig ni ska kontakta där ni har frågor som berör själva exekveringen av arbetet. Och det är jag som hjälper er med att lära er programmet, och om ni behöver stöd i själva projekteringen eller utbildning. Inledningen är då att vi kommer köra en liten poll där ni kommer få några frågor så att vi får en inblick i vilka ni är. Jättegärna om ni alla är med och besvarar den. Och sen kommer ni få en till fråga så att vi vill ha sin uppfattning om vilka program ni använder idag när ni jobbar med landskap. Och sen kommer ni själva hålla i själva presentationen. Och kom ihåg att det är helt okej att ställa frågor. Det är bara vi som kommer se frågorna. Och de här frågorna kommer vi ta i slutet. Så att ni har ett litet chattfönster i er klient. Och där kan ni fråga. Det går bra att fråga på svenska eller på engelska. So in English then, thank you Nekama for being with us. It's great having you here. And I just went through the agenda, which basically is that we're having this poll, and then you're going to have your presentation. Is it going to be approximately how long, you think?
I'll try to keep it as short as 45-50 minutes, and then probably 10-15 minutes for questions from the audience.
All right. That sounds great. So I told them they could have the questions. They type them in the chat window. We're the only ones going to see them, but we're going to take the questions at the end. So they write their questions in either Swedish or English, and then at the end, I'm going to read those we have time to reply, and the rest we might get in touch with everyone through email. So please, it's your show.
All right, perfect. So let me just change my screen. And let me make sure that that's the correct one. All right. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us to get to know Environment for Revit in collaboration with our Swedish partners, NTI. My name is Nekama. I'm a landscape architect. I guess Haidar already presented me. And today we're going to talk about what is Environment for Revit. It's going to be kind of a high-level overview. If you guys already know Environment for Revit, please stay with us. You might find out one or two features that you don't know. I'll try to make it brief. We're not going to go deep into every feature, but the main purpose is to have an overview and see what are the capabilities of this tool, what it can do for you, and how it can help you advance into BIM technology, or if you're already using BIM technology, how it can streamline your work and help you work in a more efficient and fun way within Revit. So to get started, just a little bit about us.
I'm sorry, I could have just launched the poll also, so that we have an insight on our guests. So you see these 4 questions. So please, everyone, just press who you are. And I'm keeping my eyes
we
on.
have a lot of landscape architects with us today, which is perfect.
I can see it's 70% now. Let's wait a couple more seconds.
Which is very good. Actually, our company, I'm a landscape architect myself. Our CEO is a landscape architect, and the entire company started from the fact that we, as landscape architects, had to comply with BIM standards. And although Revit is a pretty powerful tool that controls the industry, it offers a lot. However, when it comes to landscape architecture, there's a missing link. And what we try to do with Environment for Revit is to take all the benefits of Revit, and whenever there's something missing, to complete the missing link and to create a totally new discipline within Revit. So I can see that the poll right now is what software you guys are using. Some of you might be Revit users, others might be AutoCAD users, and hopefully each of you will find the set of tools that you'll see that can be beneficial for you, especially if you are moving from AutoCAD to Revit. Then I know that for a lot of landscape architects, looking at these tools and seeing these capabilities is something that they need before they make the decision to move to Revit. And if you're already working within Revit, then rest assured environment tools are pretty, they speak the Revit language. If you already know Revit, they will be very easy to implement and to use. And also we have a 1 month free trial. So after the webinar, you'll be able to get the link and download the free trial and see for yourself. All right, so Environment for Revit, we see it as a new discipline within Revit, same way as you have architecture, structure, steel, and precast. Today, we have more than 57 tools, and we keep counting because this presentation was made when we had 40 tools. It wasn't so long ago, but we try to release a new version every month or two, not only to fix the bugs, but really to improve our tools, to add more functionality, and to complete the missing gaps. We had a goal to allow landscape design within Revit from start to end without using any additional tool. We have achieved this goal about 2 years ago. And today, what we do again, we keep adding more functionality and more ease. In this presentation, we will talk about the more basic functionalities that usually people use Environment for Revit to, the main principles of landscape designs, how do you use model lines and other topography tools to create a landscape design. We will talk about hardscape workflows, how do you combine hardscape inside your design, even when you're just using topographies, give a little bit of a demonstration of our retaining walls and wall tools. We will talk about what we have to offer when it comes to planting plans and planting design, and some collaboration representation tools as well. We'll see what we will have time to do, and if you have any questions, we have everything on our YouTube channel, so you could just go to YouTube and search for Arc Intelligence on YouTube. With that being said, let's move over to Revit. Again, I see that we have quite a lot of Revit users today. So let me just see over here. Okay. So whenever I start a presentation, I always like to talk a little bit about the principles of landscape design. And the reason I like to do it is because these principles are correct for Revit use with environment, but they're also correct for any 3D software. And even before teaching our tools, I think that understanding these principles would make your modeling and design process a lot more fun, a lot easier, and a lot more intuitive. So the first and most important thing that I always say in every presentation is that the landscape model is not just one big surface. It's not just a blanket that we spread on top of our model. Just like a building is not just one big chunk of concrete. The landscape model is more like a quilt that's made of a lot of different parts. Every part of the landscape model has a different material to it, a different functionality, and even a different slope sometimes, or grading. So what we do in landscape architecture, we do a lot of site engineering, and we have to make sure that even a flat site can manage the stormwater correctly. And this is why when we're working like that with parts, we're stitching and sewing our landscape design, our landscape model, it makes things a lot more easy, but it makes them also a lot more reliable to what the outcome would be in reality. So if we said that all the surfaces are not just one big surface. We should find some kind of a system or a way to divide them. And the easiest and most simple way is to just look at your landscape model as being divided into two different surfaces, primary surfaces and secondary surfaces. So what are they? Initially, the primary surfaces would be the backbone of your design, really the skeleton of everything. So in this case that you see over here, this will be the main pathways that we have here in the design. And even if I'm using just a pen and a paper, these parts would be the first ones that I will sketch out there and draw to myself to understand how my design is going to look. And then the secondary surfaces are just the infill that is in between. So using environment tools, you'll see that you will have to do very little calculation for these secondary surfaces. And the most work would be for the primary ones. These are the ones that really build your design, connect between one elevation to another, one area to another. The third principle is that if you're transitioning from CAD to Revit and you're used to doing everything on a plan view, you're used to using, flat lines, Revit can be a perfect transition for you because we're always starting with flat geometry. You can either use detail lines, which are just polylines in Revit, or you could straight away start to create these flat floors, flat geometries. And then step by step, we're going to assign elevation to each of these geometries. So having said these three principles of not one big surface, using primary and secondary surfaces, and then starting from flat and slowly assigning the grading and elevation, now let's jump into environment tools and take a look at how our topography tools can give you the flexibility to do that. Again, before I jump into the topography tools, it's important to say that a lot of the demo today will revolve around the topography and grading, but we have a lot of tools for other model elements such as walls, railings, curbs. We have tools for collaboration with CAD, Civil 3D analysis, setting coordinates. So feel free to explore again with our YouTube channel, with the user guide. I think that every person, every user can find a different tool that would just make their life a little bit more easier. So it's just a matter of how you investigate it and what you want to take out of it. So as I said, in this first example, I want to concentrate in our topography tools. This is something that we're very proud of. We have two different sets of tools. I'm going to start with this first topography tool set. And as you open this topography tool set, you can see that we have 6 different tools over here. And the purpose is to really allow you to design the entire topography, delete, move points in a very flexible way. But the most important thing to remember about the topography tools is that they work with accuracy. Now, if you're moving from AutoCAD, you just have to remember that topographies in Revit, they can show you the contour lines, but they're actually made out of points. And now the question is, how do I place all these points without having to calculate each and every point? Well, instead of calculating each point, what we offer is 6 sets of strategies that you see here. So you can either just place a point in a certain elevation, place it on a certain line, on a certain edge, pick a face to copy, insert midpoint, which is kind of an interpolation tool, or just create a slope. And in this example, I'll try to create a plaza that connects the building and the street without calculating any point. Instead, I'll just say what I want to do. So take a look, I have a 2D view, a plan view, and a 3D view, and I'm going to work on both. And I'm going to start with the most simple strategy, a tool that I really like, the From Edge tool. It will work on linked models and regular models and CAD and anything basically that is 3D in your model. I just have to click once and take a look at my 2D view. As I click, you can see the points that will make my surface. They are already there. and I'm going to click once again because I want to connect really where the doors are. But maybe I want to be a little bit lower than the door, all right? So I don't have to calculate. I could just type -5 centimeters, and then you can see that the points are dropping a little bit down. Let me do something more extreme so you can see -2, for example, and they drop down, right? So I'm going to bring it back to 5 centimeters. And now if I want to create a surface, I'm going to click on insert points, and I already have my surface. Let me click on escape, and then I'm moving into a selection mode in the topography tools. And again, it's very intuitive here. I could just drag, select, and once I select my points, I can delete them, or I can move over to the plan view, click on a point, maybe copy it to make my surface a little bit larger, or move or align or change its elevation. Again, very intuitive, very easy to understand. Let's go back to the from edge. And this time I just want to click on the 1 point option, and I want to select a few key points in the streets. And you can see that already the points are in the 2D view. I'm going to select the sidewalk here again and again. This time I don't want to be under the sidewalk, so I'm just going to change the offset value to 0, and you can see the points are up there. If I click again on a point, it deletes it, so I can move it over here. And let's click on insert midpoint. So that's the interesting part. Now that I have the start of my plaza, and you can already see the contour lines are creating, I want to create a slope that goes all the way to this catch basin to make sure that the rainwater are going from the building outwards. So I'm going to use the slope path tool and just select the first existing point over here. And as I click on it, you'll see this p-incline that I get. This is the direction of my slope. And as I click again, you can see in this window, I already have an indication of the start and value, and also of my given slope. And I can change any of them. So I can change the end value and get a different slope, or I could just choose this slope here and change the slope value. For now, I'm pretty happy with my result. So I'm going to click on insert point. I already have a surface, but I'm still not happy because as you can see, these contour lines, they're showing me kind of a jittery surface. And in Revit, sometimes we need to enter more points, insert more points to the surface to get a more accurate and smooth result. So again, you don't have to calculate each and every point. You just need to use a simple strategy. Let's use the interpolation tool, the insert midpoint. And the insert midpoint is just like its name. I'm going to select 2 points. Let's go with 1 and 2. And environment will optimize the placement of these points to kind of smooth my surface. Now let's do it again. 1, 2, insert points. And I get a very, very smooth surface. I'm going to click on finish now. And that's one of my favorite examples of how you can really design a complete plaza without calculating any point. And again, if you're moving from CAD to Revit, then Revit's native abilities to show you the slope value. This is just a game changer from the standard CAD workflows. And then we can go to the messing inside option over here and just get the labels on these contours. So that's the first example of how we are working with the topography tools. But environment actually accommodates some more traditional workflows. And let me show you other workflows as well over here. Let's go over here and open this combination file. So the second option, a lot of you are actually working in the opposite way, right? you're starting with contour lines, and then you want to move into a surface. And this is what I'm going to show you today. So in this example, let's take a look at the plan view. I have this path, and in my mind, I already have the design. I want to connect here and here, and I want these contour lines to be the guidance of my given slope. So what I'm going to do is assign elevation to these three-dimensional lines, and they'll be used as the basis for my topography. I'm just going to go to Environment tab, and I already made some calculations, right? So I want to start with 10 and go every 50 centimeters. I'm just going to use the set elevation by crossing. Now take a look at my 3D view as well. I'm going to click one time here, one time here, and then two things happened. The lines changed elevation. They changed their color to indicate that the elevation is different. Oh, sorry, I didn't insert a value of the increment. So the vertical distance between the line, I want it to be 50 centimeters. That's what I forgot to do before. Doesn't matter, I'm going to do it again. 1, 2. I got double the text. That's not an issue. All right, so now I have 10, 1050, 11, and 1150. So I know that my elevation are in place. If I want to change my elevation, I don't have to go to the set elevation tool again like before. I could just type the elevation that I want to change. So let's type 4 and take a look at my 3D view again. It's going to change. And then I can bring it back. So again, it's very simple, very intuitive. Just place a line and decide what is the elevation that you want to give it. Now that we have these lines in an elevation, we can move to a 3D view. And that's the fourth principle that I didn't talk about before. But if we're saying, all right, start with primary surfaces, start flat, and then go into grading, let's see one method. And again, there are plenty of methods, but let's see one method of using topographies in order to grade these floors. Just a side note, if you're already using Revit, this is a little bit different in Revit 2024, but it's a lot more easier. And all of environment tools are also available for Revit 2024 as well. So I'm going to create a topography here from these lines, and it's going to be used as a help or reference surface for this floor. Let's go to the Add Line option over here, select the lines. Maybe I want to change the amount of points that I'm going to place over here. You have a complete freedom to change the way you want to place them. And then click Add Lines. At these points, I want to connect it to the different paths. So I'm just going to use from edge here and here. Click Insert Point. And as long as my surface completely covers the entire floor, I'm okay. If I have extraordinary lines, I could very easily go to the Insert Midpoint and use this tool to create an interpolation that is in the shape of my path. So again, you don't have to do it in this process. You can maybe draw a little bit more contour lines before, or you can use other methods, but that's just an example of how easy it is to use these tools to create a very smooth topography. And at this point, this is just a design element. This surface is not my end result. What I want is to take this floor and to bring it up here. Now, changing the grading of a floor is very difficult, unless, of course, you're using the help surface method, and then you can go to Environment, Shape by Topography, click on OK, and Environment would automate the placement of this floor. You can see that this floor has a lot of points, and it just optimizes the amount of points that the floor needs to be very accurately placed on the topography. And of course, you can delete this surface now, but a lot of times we like to keep it in the file. We're using a view filter. Just type in the comment help, and the view filter will make sure that this would not appear in your screen. So this is one way of working with these model lines. Another thing that is very important is that with environment tools, we're always thinking how you can take this process all the way into documentation. So if I go to the plan view and I have floors here, now Revit floors, as opposed to Revit topographies, don't show the contour lines. Well, that's not a problem. You can go to environment, slab contours over here, and just define the increment between the contours, define the line style that you want to use. These are regular Revit line styles. So as long as you have line styles in your file, or you can very easily add new ones, click on OK, and you have contours on your floor. And of course, with this check elevation tool, you can finish this process and have everything ready for documentation. Whether you're using a floor or a topography, it doesn't matter what is your chosen workflow, but we can accommodate that and make sure that you'll be able to document everything as you're used to do. To wrap up the part about topographies, let me hide these lines over here. And I want to show you the other set of topography tools that we have here. These are called modified topography. So the modified topography tools would only work on existing topography. So let's open the topography tools to just create a basic topography to work from. Remember, before I told you about the primary and secondary. So the infill over here, let's think about it as the secondary surface, right? I'm going to use the from edge tool again to just create a surface that is confined within these boundaries. Click on insert points and click on finish. So now that I have this surface, let's use the modified topography tool set. And you can see that over here as well, we have a tool set that can do many, many things. I'll show you two examples. So first of all, I have a grid on my topography. The meaning of the grid is that instead of placing points like before in a very accurate and thoughtful way, what I'm going to do now is environment will spread a net of points over my surface, thus allowing me to get a very, very smooth result. I'm going to start with the inflate surface option. And let's move the slider all the way up. Click on the show preview. And the result that I'll get is this mound of a topography. If I want, I can give it a negative value. Click on show preview, and I'll get this basin, right? A drainage basin. But let me move to another tool, which is even a lot more fun than that. Let's move to the mesh control tool. I'm going to cancel out what I did with the inflate. And the mesh control tool will give me these black control handles. And this is to help you feel a little bit more Rhino within Revit. So let's place a control handle every 4 meters. And as I click on a handle right here, I can just freely move my topography and create whatever I want with it. These wires will help me understand what is the overall shape of my design. And as I will click on show preview, I will also be able to see the contour lines and the change that will occur to my topography over here. Let me click on apply changes and OK. So you can see the result. Again, just to give you an idea of what is the result I'm getting, let's edit this topography with the topography tools. And you can right away see that what environment did is create this net of points that gives me the smoothness that I want. And I can always control the amount of points that I have. And if I want to further edit everything, I can always reverse this process by going to environment and extracting these contours. Let's delete the topography in this case. So I can always extract these contours as model lines and maybe start working on it from there. So the process can be back and forth. You can really do whatever you want with it. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of flexibility that can be found within these tools. So a lot more to say about that, but I actually want to show you a lot more tools today. So let's jump to another demonstration and take a look at some of the wall tools that we have in environment for Revit. So this is a very common situation where you have two surfaces, each in a different slope, and you want to design a wall that will create kind of a retaining wall between these areas. So in the traditional CAD workflows, I would have to go here and start calculate the elevations in both sides of the wall. Say, all right, I want the walls to be stepped like that, and then give a specific elevation to each part. But even when you're working in traditional Revit workflows, you'll probably have to start splitting the wall and then taking each part to a specific elevation and then start to analyze the result that you have. So that's a lot of manual work, and that's where environment for Revit comes into the picture and tries to streamline the work for you and make it a lot easier for you to examine different design options and to really take advantage of you using BIM. So let's click on the Control Z now and combine the wall all together. What I'm doing right now, I actually created just a placeholder wall. So you can see that in a plan view, the pink line, that's the wall. It's right where I want the wall to be. Now I can tab select the chain of walls and go to Environment, Arrange Wall tool. That's actually one of our first algorithms in environment. So it's very advanced and we're very proud of it. And here, instead of starting to split the wall, you could just define the settings that you want to have. So you want to have a minimum height to the wall, a minimum embedment. And as you progress in using environment, you can move on and use some other settings and parameters to control the length patterns of the wall. So let's click on OK. And environment is just going to calculate the elevations in both sides of the wall to get an estimate or an approximation of what the best layout according to the definitions that you get. So if you're already using Revit, you should know that everything you create with environment is a native Revit element. That's just a Revit wall. So if you collaborate with other people who don't have environment, it doesn't matter. They can always go back and edit their tools. I can always tab select this chain of walls and then go to the Arrange Wall option and maybe change one of the values and very, very quickly get an idea of a different design option, see what I like best. To wrap up this workflow, you can tab select all these walls and go to Environment Wall Railing and just place as many railings as you wish. So you can use the wall capping as a railing. Let's click on OK. And we have the capping over here. And you can go ahead and add more railings on top of that. And this is a really small feature, but it changes a lot. If you have a lot of walls, this could allow you to place the railings on multiple walls all at once. So if I have all these walls over here, I could just select them, go to Environment, Wall Railing, and then have railings hosted on these walls. And of course, the railings would update as I update the walls. And as I said before, we are always thinking about the entire process. So from modeling all the way to documentation. So let's tab select this wall and go to environment and use the wall layout feature to create an unfolded elevation view of this curved wall that you just saw. So let's select a face. Let's say I want my elevation view to show this part of the wall over here. Click on OK. And then environment would automatically create this elevation view that is, we're using 2D elements. As you can see, this is a filled region, but it duplicates it and it contains the same name as the wall type name. So this means that you can easily use Revit native abilities to tag every element in your file. So just tagging the names of the railings and the walls. You can see the grid elements that I previously placed on a plan view. You can see the ground, the existing ground. You can see the ground in the back of the wall. And of course, again, use Revit's native abilities to also tag the elevations and place the spot elevations in every part. And of course, you can place the dimensions over here and to create the complete document that you need to present. Again, we have some more wall tools and you're very much invited to explore them. We have one that is still in beta testing, but we're very much advanced with it. And this edit wall in place tool will simply allow you to, let me show you. So we're now creating an option to create these walls as sloped walls and not only stepped walls. This is something that is coming soon. You'll be able to just drag these arrows and have fun with it. It will work with straight walls or curved walls as well. And again, this is still in beta testing, but you're more than welcome to run some tests. Pretty soon we will also embed it into the arrange wall option, and then you'll be able to create sloped walls within the settings of the arrange wall option. Next, what I want to show you is some of our planting tools that we provide. So the way Revit works is similarly to AutoCAD blocks, you have Revit families. Let's take a look at this 3D view. So each family in Revit can be duplicated into many different types, and every type can contain the planting information that you want. So using Revit, it is very easy for you to create your planting library. All you have to do is get a few geometries as a starting point and then duplicating these geometries to create your planting library. We're actually giving away these geometries, these families for free. You don't have to be an environment for Revit user. We have a standard Revit landscape template, and within it you can find the basic geometries that you would need to create your planting libraries. And there are different approaches to creating these geometries, as you can see over here. So each office and each landscape architect really prefers to see it in a different way. So we accommodate that. And Revit is pretty great when it comes to managing information. All of the things that you see over here can then be scheduled and tagged very easily. What we provide with Environment is a few tools to streamline the process of working with these planting families. Before I go into it, I have to say there are many different workflows within Revit into how you want to do your planting plans. And the number one rule is you first have to have a PDF, you have to have a document, and you want to understand what is the end result that you want to get, because some landscape firms actually prefer working with area plans for planting design, and that's something that we know how to do and we know how to teach, but Revit is pretty great with that. So currently we didn't need to improve anything. What we do want to improve is the way you place your plans and manage your information. So let's move to a floor plan and take a look at the area scatter tool over here. So if I delete some of these plans, you can see that I designed the areas, I designed the placement of my plans, and now I can use the area scatter tool to just place the planting families on top of my design. If you're already using Revit, then you don't have to have areas per se to place the families. You can actually place them on floors as well. You can place them on topographies, or you could just place them on areas. And that's my favorite method, just to place them on areas, because it allows me a lot of flexibility in my design. So now I can apply selection, and I can select plans from my screen. I can select plans from my list. I can create plant mixes by selecting multiple plants, like over here. And maybe let's add another element and select this pink thing over here. So there's really a lot of definitions and settings that you can go into with the scatter tool. Let's click on find my host. So Environment would automatically calculate what is the elevation of each plant. And let's click on apply over here to start seeing the result. So once you click on apply, you can already see the result, but you're able to make more changes to it. So for example, if I don't want to create it on a grid placement, I can use a triangulated grid placement and then click on apply again and see the results. I can change the pattern angle. I can change, maybe randomize it. And sometimes you can also even use this tool to just create a forest effect. If you're using the irregular method, you can create this forest effect in your design. So let's click on Finish Scatter now. And you can see that what I have created here is this group, this assembly. And again, using tags, I can very easily tag this assembly. In this case, I have to apologize. I have a very ugly tag loaded into my file, but we definitely improved in that sense. And we have created better tags that are standard. They're coming with the tools. So let me just give you an example of what the nice tags look like. Here is another example of a tag. So in here, I actually used an abbreviation to describe the content of my assembly, and then I'm using a schedule to show, let me see, there it is. So I'm using an abbreviation, and then I'm using a schedule to just indicate each abbreviation what plant is in my file. So this schedule is standard Revit. I just made sure that every family contains the plant information that I want to show, and then I'm able to place them with Environment for Revit, and then add this information of how many plants I have in each group. And as you saw before, or that's something that I talked about at the beginning, you're able to do the same thing with just areas. So this is a simple Revit area that I have here. And even with areas, you're able to very easily get all the plant information and get all the quantities that you need from your design. So these are kind of two approaches to creating your planting design in Revit. That's something that I really like, the flexibility to use any approach you want to build the workflow the way you want it. And I have to say that collaborating with NTI on this matter is very important, because then you are able to get the service and you're able to have someone that will tell you, all right, this workflow fits you better because your documents, you like them looking like that, etc. I don't have a lot of time, so I just want to talk a little bit about Civil 3D and CAD collaboration. Let's go to wireframe over here. So in this specific example, what I want to show is how we can transfer information from AutoCAD straight into Revit. And in this example, I got a CAD survey that shows me the existing trees in my site. And you can see that all of these trees are here as Revit families. And let me show you very quickly how to do that. So I'm gonna delete these plantings and furniture. And I'm going to go to Get Blocks and make sure that I select the correct block. Now Environment is going to read the DWG, and I'm able to select the Revit families that I want to place on my CAD survey. Let's click on Show List. And then on this list, you can see this is the first block, and this is the second block. And I'm actually able to use the advanced replacement settings to say, all right, this block, this is the existing trees. So for the existing trees, I want to use this family over here that's called existing tree. But for the benches that are existing on my site, I want to use a bench family, right? It makes perfect sense. So I'm going to use this bench family over here. And now I know that each family has each block has a different family. Now I have the option to extract these attributes and to turn them into Revit parameters. And let's say that I want to rotate the Revit families according to the blocks, because you can see that these benches has different rotations. Let's click on OK now. And all the families are in place. And if I click on a specific instance, you can see that it got all the attributes from AutoCAD into Revit. Now, don't worry, some of my trees are not in correct elevation because of the CAD survey. The CAD survey had them lower, so I can simply mark them, and with Revit Pick New Host effect feature, I can then host them on my topography. So that was very, very easy. And of course, these ones I can schedule, I can then tag, just like any other Revit elements. So as I promised, this will be 45 to 50 minutes. We're approaching 50 minutes. And I don't know if we have any questions from the crowd, but I think this will be a perfect time.
Thank you very much, Nechama. I am going to check if we have any questions. There was one question regarding if there are different environment plugins. The plugin we're showcasing today is Environment for Revit, and Arc Intelligence are the makers of this software, and NDI is the reseller. So I have no insight in other, but from my knowledge, this is the one that's called Environment.
Yeah, we have one product. Maybe in the future we'll have more. We'll see that. If there's no more questions, yeah, let me just share my screen really quickly again to show them our website. That's arcintelligence.com. So if you just want to get to the free trial, you have here the free trial button, and you have some YouTube tutorials to showcase our tools and what they do. There are a lot of other options. You can also take a look at our user guide. And of course, if you have any questions regarding purchasing, training, implementation, digital transformation from CAD or SketchUp to Revit, and Haider and Johan, I think this is where you go into the picture.
Great. It seems like everyone is content or in shock all the wonderful features. I don't have any more questions, but people are welcome to get back to us. Så att alla är jättevälkomna att höra av sig till oss om det är så att det dyker upp frågor. Vi kommer följa upp med er och kolla så att ni är nöjda med webbinariet. Och en liten detalj, när vi avslutar webbinariet, vi kommer få ett antal frågor, så jättetack om ni tar er tiden och besvara dem. So that was all. Thank you very much, Nakama.